final of the IFSC Leeds season 2017. I'm Charlie Bosco. Delighted to say I've got Campbell Harrison alongside me this evening. And I'm not so delighted to say that Xiamen remains wet and windy. It has, however, stopped raining. The rain has been the dominant story here in South China all of today and all of yesterday. But I'm pleased to say it has relented. And we're underway in the women's final. We only had a couple of minutes notice that the final was about to start. It was originally forecast to start, shouldn't say forecast with all the weather problems we've had, but it's originally scheduled to start at 10 to 7, which it currently is. But then it was moved forward, then it was moved back, and we're underway as scheduled. And
yeah, it's certainly been a little bit of a tough game with the weather here. First day was really nice, aside from the wind, but well, for the qualifiers, and then it's kind of all gone a little downhill since then.
Yeah, we were supposed to have the semi-final last night. That got bumped forward to today, and then we had a massively interrupted semi-final for the men, and the women's was cancelled. So we have 13 women in the final today, because we wanted to take the top 8 from qualifying, but because there was a tie in qualifying, we ended up taking the top 13. So this is the women's final with 13 climbers, none of whom climbed in the semi-final. I know it's complicated, but go on the IFSC website, you can at least get a start list. And this is Meiko Taki on the wall. The women's route is on the left for the finals, and the men's is on the right, and the right is the much wetter side of the wall. So the men are not climbing just yet. If they do climb, they'll climb at the same time as the women. It won't be women then men, it will be both climbing at the same time. But we're waiting to see how the men's route dries out, if it dries out at all. We were able to complete a full men's semi-final, albeit conditions probably weren't that fair. They changed a lot during the semi-final, but we did manage to get a semi-final done in very difficult circumstances. So we'll keep you up to date as best we can. We're figuring it out just the same as you are, and we'll give you as much information as we can if and when we get it. But for now, Meiko Taki on the wall. The first of three Japanese climbers, in the final today. As I say, 13 climbers through, 13-way tie. Yesterday in the qualifiers, all 13 climbers with 2 tops in the women's side. In the men, we have just a normal 8, and they came through from the semi-final. First look at this women's route. Campbell, we were checking it out earlier. It doesn't seem like there's an obvious crux. From chatting to the route setters, they don't seem to think there is, but sustained.
No, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it looked really, really sustained. Sustained power as well, not just simply like grabbing the holds and moving, but like continually difficult and tiring movements. Yeah, which I think will be really, really interesting to watch. Hopefully we won't see the women shaking out and resting too much. We should be able to see them, continuing through, having to fight really hard for each movement.
Yeah, Meiko Taki getting plenty of encouragement from the Japanese team, as you'd expect, chooses to clip. The women's route follows a series of yellow volumes, and then she's on to black volumes, you can see, and then it's a bit of a mix of the two from there on out. Pretty much all the volumes do have a small screw-on hold, as well as the volume itself, just making them a bit easier to catch.
Although I think these ones don't have anything on them, these next black ones coming up.
The black ones don't, yeah, but the section above, which we won't see from Meiko Taki on the yellow ones, they do have some bolt-ons.
That's the first crux that I read there. The foot is quite nice, so you can definitely maneuver the body position to get your weight under that sloper and make it a lot better. But yeah, I think it looked like a really terrible hold, and the texture on these holds is quite interesting. So I'm not surprised that that's where we saw the first woman come off, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more women struggling in that section as well.
Should we get that far, the second to last hold is probably the worst hold on the route as well.
Definitely, it's this tiny little crimp with the blocker on the top, so you have to be like absolutely perfect when you stick it, and then you have to be strong enough and fresh enough to pull through for another powerful move to the finish hold, which I honestly have no idea if it's good or not, so we'll have to wait and see.
Here's Shima Shirashi. As I say, all 13 women in this evening's final were tied in the qualifiers. We had no semi-final, so they all qualified for the final, but it does put the pressure on the route setters because they need to achieve some separation. Remember, if it's for a podium place, it'll come down to time on the final route. If it's not for a podium place, we can have ties in the final. Campbell, You made your first semi-final in Wujiang last week. What will these climbers be going through backstage? What does the last 5-10 minutes look like before you come out of the business end of a World Cup?
Interesting question. I guess for like someone who's not familiar with climbing in competitions, yeah, it could be a little bit interesting. Often you've finished your warming up and you're just resting. You're trying to. It's different for every athlete. Some of us are trying to relax as much as possible. Others are really trying to amp themselves up. And a lot of it's kind of outside of your control. Different competitions can work differently. Some organizers will put you in the chair and tie you in super early. Sometimes you might have to commute from the warm-up area to the wall. So it can be always different, and it's just a matter of managing those variables as best you can and tying them into your preparation as best as you can, and just being flexible. Yeah.
It's certainly going to be an interesting feature of this final. Excuse me. It's actually feels a bit like a semi-final because it's the first time on the live stream that we've seen most of the women climbing. We only got through, I think it was 8 climbers in an attempt at doing the women's semi-final earlier on today that had to be aborted. But certainly adds an element to it. They expected their semi-final to be last night. They came, they warmed up. It was pushed back half an hour, then cancelled. Again today, they warmed up, began the semi-final and couldn't complete it. And now here they are in a wet and windy final. Very difficult to manage, not only physically but psychologically. Could throw up some surprise results depending on who copes with it best, but it must be said that one thing that Janja Garnbret seems to cope well with is psychological stress. So
for sure,
maybe the surprises might not be there after all.
I think she's one of those climbers that she's just so strong that she can kind of control all those elements on the wall that might catch some of the other competitors out.
So Shima Shirashi, been fascinating watching the beginnings of her World Cup career that I suspect over the coming years is going to be immensely successful. Haven't seen her winning just yet. She's only 16 though.
Very, very close to the podium last weekend in Wujiang. The matter of a 0.5, so just a hold between her and the podium. I definitely think she's one of those climbers that's super capable of it. Always super interesting to watch. She's got a really, really cool style where she brings her feet up really high, just like we can see there. Super, super flexible.
So she's heading up now towards Meikataki's high point. You can see that small yellow hole at the top of the screen. The spotlight just about keeping up with it. You can see how much it's shaking from the wind. Conditions not ideal here in Xiamen, but better than they were. It is dry, at least. And Ashima now into new territory on the women's route.
See, really, really poor holds, so she's trying to keep her hips into the wall and stay over the holds as much as possible. There's still a lot of climbing to go, and it's already looking really hard.
Yeah, the women's semi-final route was said to be as hard as the men's. Sadly, we didn't get to see the top half of the women's draw climbing on it.
I'd believe it, though, watching what we did see.
Yeah, it looks super hard. Ashima just trying to figure out what she's checking. I don't think she was looking at her watch.
I think she's looking for time. So it doesn't seem like we have a timer for the athletes at this competition, but nevertheless, they are able to ask for time. So if they can't see it, then they can just shout down, and there shouldn't be any issue.
We'll try and get a clock on the screen for you. We've not been provided one by the organisers. Told it's not possible. We'll try and make a manual one for you. But as for now, focus on Ashima because she is absolutely flying up this route. You can see the top there, those 2 strips of white light. That is the top of the wall, and there's the top sign coming into view. Double. She's done the double 3 times in the Youth World Championships, lead and boulder, 2015, 16 and 17, and this was the year she made her debut in the Senior World Cups. It's a bit of it felt like a big moment watching her on her first qualifier in Arco.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in August. And here she is, Xiamen, 4th World Cup of her career. Launches out with the right hand.
Looking really good. The wall's not too steep at this section, so she should be able to recover between each of the hard moves as she goes.
Yeah, the wind died ever so slightly. It was really blowing earlier on. You can see Ashima really beginning to fight the route and the conditions. As you get higher on this wall and further out from the hole that the wall sits in, you get more and more of the wind. But she's getting a huge amount of encouragement. You can hear screams from 20 metres away from the crowd. This young lady is a climbing phenomenon. And you can't actually see it because of the glare of the spotlight, but there is a second to last hold between that big yellow volume and the top hold. It's pretty small, but it is there. And as I say, unfortunately, the glare of the spotlight's right on it. Obscure it now.
Big, powerful move. Good hold for her right, but pretty poor for her left.
So Shima, she goes again.
And it's looking just too far at this stage. She might have to find some new beta.
Yeah, she's reset quite a few times now. Now she commits, dives out left, grabs the top of the volume and drops off. 2 moves from the top, but that's a superb effort from Ashima. And with the conditions changing as they are, I think she's hit not far off the best conditions we've seen for at least the last 3 or 4 hours of keeping a very close eye on the weather here. We'll see how it unfolds. Let's have a look, quick replay of how Ashima finished off. So she was trying to figure out a way to go to this left volume, and she actually landed the left hand pretty solidly, but as soon as her right hip began to rotate off the wall, it brought a centre of gravity round to the left and she peeled off. A superb effort. Can the route be topped? Didn't see a top in the men's semi-final. I thought we might, but as conditions deteriorated, I think it just got harder and harder for the climbers. Risa Ota the next to try her luck. Just to let you know, it started rather suddenly here in Xiamen. We didn't have time to bring you a start list. After Risa Ota, we've got Molly Thompson-Smith. What a season she's having. Kia Noguchi, Matteo Becerra, Hannah Schubert, Meena Markovic, Jessie Peltz, Julia Shanodi, Anna Verhoeven, Jane Kim and Janja Garnbret. This season, that top 7-8 climbers has a very familiar ring to it.
For sure. It's really interesting as well because seeing as all the climbers are coming out in order of their world ranking as opposed to order of their qualification, not necessarily seeing the best performing climbers in this comp coming out last, or coming out later. So you know, the high points, the way the high point progresses could be a little different to other competitions.
And there you can see we've got a clock, so keep an eye on that. Remember, if it's for a podium position, it'll come down to time in terms of the overall ranking for the World Cup. If there's a tie below a podium position, there is just a tie. Risa Ota underway. If you're just joining us, by the way, we're live in Xiamen. Charlie Bosco here with Campbell Harrison, World Cup semi-finalist. His new tagline next to me, and we've got a 13-woman final. As I say, if you're just joining us, the women's semi-final had to be cancelled, so the officials decided that we would have a final with the top 8 ranked climbers from the qualifiers, but because there was a huge tie in the qualifiers, it actually meant that 13 women qualified for the final. We are hoping to also have a men's final. We did complete a very disrupted men's semi-final earlier. We are hoping to have a men's final, but the men's final on the right-hand side of the Xiamen wall has taken the brunt of the rain and the wind.
Looking at the conditions now, I reckon we could be in the clear to have the men's final as long as someone goes up and dries the holds. They're quite visibly quite wet and there's almost no chalk on them.
Yeah, Campbell and I right underneath the men's route. We're literally 3 metres from the start of it. And still looking pretty damp. There's a lot of seeping from the panels.
And you can see water dripping off of some of the volumes.
Yeah, where the panels join, there's a bit of seepage. It's also coming through the bolt holes in a couple of places. So a bit of work to be done before the men's final can get underway. If it does get underway, it could run concurrent with the women's. It might not be separate. We'll see. We'll keep you up to date. Risa Ota's on the wall. She's got just under 4 minutes left. We've just seen a superb effort from Ashima Shirashi. Sixth, fourth and fifth results. Ashima, and yeah, superb effort to get underway here in Xiamen. Risa Ota, actually her First final of 2017. As you mentioned, it could throw the cat amongst the pigeons, a slightly randomised order, and the fact that we've got climbers like Risa who haven't made a final before and get a chance to try it out, climbing with no pressure.
Well, a final this season.
Final this season, yeah. You're quite right. So 3 minutes to go for her. She's climbing fairly slowly, it must be said. She's below halfway, taking a long rest.
Risa was one of the climbers that used to time out with the 8 minutes. So we'll see how she goes with the last 2 minutes and 42 seconds left.
When we watched Meikataki and Ashima Surashi, it looked like the route climbed quite quickly.
Yeah.
But Risa really slowing the pace down a lot.
I think from here it will climb quite quickly. I don't think it's a smart decision to take too much time. Quite big, powerful moves, and the body positions in between the holds aren't particularly stable. But we can see Risa trying to control them, so...
Yeah, 2 minutes to go for Risa. She's heading up to where we lost Meikataki. You can see there those yellow volleys at the top of the screen. That's what we saw Ashima Surashi powering through. Risa might just about have enough time. She doesn't take too many rests, but she's got to get through this hard move first. Just about makes it work. I think the extra reach helps her there against May. May, one of the shorter climbers. Risa, one of the slightly taller ones. But still trying to find a way of doing this move with keeping the feet on, and it doesn't quite work, and we lose her with 1 minute 19 left on the clock, and she will sit in third place. Molly Thompson-Smith will be out next, having an absolutely fabulous season.
Yeah, Molly's been looking really strong, especially last weekend in Wuzhang.
Let's have another look at where we lost Risa Ota. I was just trying to reset. Yeah, I wonder if it might have been one or two rests too many. Hannah Schubert makes her way past us onto the wall. We are in the centre of the action. That's our light there that you can see behind Risa Ota. So when I said we were close to the action, I wasn't kidding. We could probably do the first move of the men's route from where we're sitting, actually, without leaving our chair. It's we're right there. Risa Ota makes her way back.
I feel like I might fall off the first move of the men's route.
It doesn't actually look that easy.
No, it looks really hard.
I said it so confidently in the hope that no one had noticed, but you picked me up straight away. I have to say, on the women's semi-final route, I couldn't actually do the first move when I tried it after the semi-final. It was a brutally hard move.
Oh wow, it looked nails. Like watching some super strong girls that I've been climbing with in Shanghai recently on that route, like Tina and Netta. Yeah, it must have been really tough, each individual move.
Molly Thompson-Smith underway. Keep an eye on the clock. We saw Risa Ota burning perhaps a little bit too much time in the lower section. Just to let you know, that's not the official IFSC timekeeper clock. That's our producer creating a clock and stick it on the screen, but don't take its word to the second. It's not the official clock, but it's pretty close. Yeah, Molly underway. As I mentioned, fantastic season for her so far. 2 finals. Arco and Wuzhang only just missed out in Edinburgh, 9th place there. Those in the know, those who've been training with her, say that this is not just a bit of good form. This is her really announcing herself, and we're going to be seeing her regularly in finals from here on out. Yeah,
Molly's definitely been working really hard. I think she's one of those climbers who has just made massive improvement from last season to this season. And I think she's started pressing into finals, and she's here to stay.
Coming across the top of the screen now, that's the scores as they stand. Ashima Surashi 34, Risa Ota 23 plus, and Meikataki 22 plus. Excuse me, I thought Risa was third. She's up into second. 10 climbers, including Molly, still to go though, and this is where we saw Risa pausing for a long time. She left this point with 3 minutes to go. Molly leaves with 4 minutes 20 to go. Big difference. The rain's definitely stopped here in Xiamen, but it's still dripping from the roof of the wall. I think we might be able to get the men's final underway. We'll see. Certainly hope so. Molly, like a bit of a nervous moment, just going up to that first yellow volume, trying to figure out a way of latching that black one. And as Camel mentioned earlier, no bolt-on holes on these black volumes, but once she gets back onto the yellow ones, assuming she gets there, you get a few bolt-ons just to make the volumes a little more usable.
Big moves from Molly as well. She's definitely one of the smaller competitors, I think. Her and Hannah Schubert are actually almost exactly the same size, so it'll be interesting to see them climbing one after the other.
She's going to have to go dynamically for that move, and I have to say, made it with ease.
She's one of those climbers that makes everything look frustratingly easy, I think.
Now she goes out to the right, correct. She's onto the yellow volume, so she's into second place as it stands. A lot of climbers still to come. 9 to be exact. She's into second for now. And as I've mentioned, the weather conditions could change things up here. Untroubled so far through the yellow volumes. Unfortunately, the spotlight being used here in Xiamen not doing us any favours. It's blowing out our vision of the holds above. It's far too bright, probably about 35 degrees in the spotlight. Look at the strength of it.
Yeah, certainly really bright on the camera at least.
Now she's heading out to the right on the platform, just about caught that. I don't think if she'd been any less accurate with that right hand, she'd have been in trouble there, but she made it absolute perfection. Now she's fighting, and now she's gone. Molly Thompson-Smith, second place for her, behind Ashima Shirashi.
Yeah, maybe not the most efficient movement, but man, like ridiculously powerful.
Yeah, when you've got power like that, it's a nice luxury.
You just see the wings just shoot out from under her shoulders. It's super impressive. I think that was a really impressive climb.
She looked in trouble here. She was just trying to figure out if there was an easier way to do that move. Decided to go with her original method. Meena Markovic walks past us. She's actually got a bit of a weight on her hands. She's got 3 climbers before she's on the wall. Molly Thompson-Smith walks past and we get a fist pump. Looks pretty happy with that effort.
Get our next climber stepping out onto the wall.
A very familiar figure.
Akio Noguchi.
I was about to say a bit forward she goes.
was like, I hope
more than one. In fact, perhaps the scientific rate, you know, volumes of arms. Find it. Oh, He's going up the left hand. Second volume. It's exactly the same. Trying to find if there's some the bolt hold. To describe off team. Rating. Still on the win. It's a relatively high win.
no, I never went all the massive load of holds it any residual after the brain. Definitely. In the call
actually time quick draw going towards
I mean, it can be frustrating, but it's also really exciting. It's kind of what makes climbing work.
Proceed weekend, just about everyone involved in Xiamen. Definitely female warmed up for semi-final last night. They warmed up for semi-final again at lunchtime. They start warming up 4 hours ago. Not really Sarah, volume. The right find the other rim. She loses today.
I think with
finish it. See the routes.
Sure, we were talking about this. And the route is very consistent. Being out strengths and weaknesses, I think, are more powerful. Women can really hard.
It's one of the most attractive strong climbers.
Really, and not any specific courses and such.
Out on the wall. Climbing again. Not happy mates. Silver Sarah. Felt like so time. She was 1990. Second for her. Always ready to go up. As I mentioned, reached the holes to go. More side.
The pump needs to be on instead of now.
Just Anna Verhoeven, Jane Kim. Will they try and climb, knowing that they're all tied at this stage and it could come down to time? We'll just see. Will they go out of their usual style?
Yeah, good question.
Hannah Schubert in the middle of the yellow volumes. Then it's up to those volumes. That second one, we lost Molly Thompson-Smith. We lost Gucci. World on the Xiamen, one of the most spectacular venues we visit. The skyscrapers all around us. It's an extraordinary place for a climbing competition, and great to see the women on the wall at last. Hannah lining it up to the black volume and just drops it going out to that first one. It's such a physical move. You mentioned about Molly Thompson-Smith's wings appearing. The lats required to hold that move, and Hannah just couldn't quite latch that final move out to the right.
That last move she came off on was super powerful, but prior to that point, I think she was just executing everything perfectly. Like, you could tell the point when she got a bit pumped, she took that time to rest, to recover, and then from there on, it was just like 100% go. Like, she did everything perfectly to reserve every last inch of her energy, and that was really, really cool.
You can see the ground's still wet. It's okay, Hannah, you're done. You don't need to keep your shoes dry.
Yeah, somehow trying to avoid the puddles, but I don't know if there is any avoiding the puddles.
It's certainly drier than it was. I've been told, by the way, that there'll be a decision made about the men's final at 8 p.m. 7:30 p.m. now, so half an hour from now, 8 p.m. local time, there'll be a decision taken about whether we can run the men's final. There's Meena Markovic. What a funny season she's had. Well, a funny couple of seasons, really. Sometimes she looks like the old Meena. Sometimes she's just nowhere to be seen. Which Meena will we find in Xiamen? Second in Vilar at the start of the season was a real statement of intent, but then since then, Brianson, her only final.
Well, it's a tough game in the women's field at the moment. Making finals is just such a task.
Oh, it's desperate this year. The standard is extraordinary. Yeah, Meena Markovic, though, when she's on form and climbing well and reading routes well, she can absolutely win this competition. Let's keep a close eye on her movements. I've certainly found this season that you can tell within a couple of minutes how she's doing on any given day. She just doesn't look right on her bad days.
Looking good so far, though, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking for signs of trouble, and there don't seem to be any apparent at this stage.
She's got a really impressive lock-off as well. I'm always blown away by how she feels seemingly is able to lock her way off on the whole route almost. And I always wonder if you got Meena to just sit there and hold a lock off on a bar or like the edge of a hangboard or something, exactly how long she'd be able to hold one for.
I think you'd have time to go and have lunch and come back, to be honest.
Probably.
See up above at the top of the spotlight, there's a small yellow hold where we've lost a couple of climbers already. Meena cruising so far and with plenty of time in hand. Chooses not to have a good rest on that black volume down by her right foot. The one just below where her right foot currently is. Powered straight through. Oh, and just began to peel off there. I think one of the battles she has is keeping her head in it. She's hard to stay focused because she's looked good so far on the route. And there's certainly, as you mentioned, no issues with her horsepower. Really nicely done there. That move up to the black volumes looked quite dynamic, quite committing, quite high risk with some climbers, but Meena found a really nice way to do it, just tucked her left heel in underneath her. Just quickly, we'll keep a very close eye on Meena. I've been told there might be one or two problems with the stream. I do apologise. There's a new live streaming link. It's provided on the IFSC social media, and you can also access it on the IFSC homepage. So apologies if you're experiencing problems with the stream. Go to the IFSC homepage. You can get a new link We'll see in a second. Meanwhile, Meena Markovic, 3 minutes to go. Not that many moves to go. She won't be timed out.
I think
that was not bad, not so good.
it's hard to maintain a second place for sure.
Here's Jessie standing fourth in the overall standings right now. We'll talk more about the overall standings in just a second. But yeah, Jessie currently in fourth place. 10 out of 10 for consistency early on. 5th in the first 3 World Cups of the year, and then 7th, 2nd, 7th. So every final, 1 podium. Really good season for Jessie Pilz.
Yeah, I'm sure she's frustrated that she got so many 5th places, but as a general scheme, I think this season's been really good for her, and I think she's looking in really, really good shape.
And she was so close to that elusive World Cup win in Edinburgh.
Oh, absolutely. Really, really close. I thought she had it for sure for a second there.
Just been told, by the way, as regards the men's final, that the women will finish climbing. The route setters will then go and have a look at the men's route, see how wet it is, see what conditions are like, and then we may have the men's final as well. If we don't have the men's final, it will be the semi-final that decides the results of the World Cup. Really hope we can get the final done. The climbers have been messed about through no fault of anyone's, and I think they deserve the chance to climb here in the lights in Xiamen, but
absolutely, and hopefully the rain holds off for the whole way through.
So Jessie now into the volumes. Jessie now heading up to that move to the yellow pinch. Steady and in control, you'd expect nothing less at this stage. 3:48 on the clock. Once again, time unlikely to be an issue. Now she'll try to launch up to that pinch. And again, it looks pretty tenuous, it's close. She makes it work. Now she's into the yellow volumes, heading out to the right. We were just saying in Edinburgh she was beaten by Janja Garnbret by the narrowest of margins. Janja timed out on the same hold, won it on count back. It was a heartbreak of it. Jessie, luck will go her way one day.
I remember in Stavanger in Norway a couple of years ago as well, Jessie coming really, really close. I think it might have gone to count back again against Meena Markovic. So she's definitely had those instances where she's been super, super close to taking the win.
See there, top of your screen, Ashima Shirashi still leading the way. Meena Markovic and Akia Noguchi follow. Holly Thompson-Smith also on 32 plus count back. Not a factor right now. Just keeping an eye on the weather. Still looks fairly decent here. I think the route setters are looking optimistic. They're gathering to clean the men's route. So let's see. We'll focus on Jessie Pilz for now, though. She's the fifth to last climber out. It'll be Julia Chanaudy, Anna Verhoeven, Jane Kim and Janja Garnbret still to come. Jessie's looking really controlled up until this stage, able to chalk up there. This is a hard move outright. We lost her compatriot Hannah Schubert on this move. Jessie sticks it. It's so physical. You've got to fire out to the right and then immediately stop it. Up with the left, no problems. This is really good work from Jessie Pilz. Launches out to the right, but that'll be enough for second place.
Yep. Yeah, really good climb.
Yeah, it doesn't quite make the high point of Ashima, so Jessie again will have to wait a bit longer for that World Cup win.
Gliding along the ground there.
Yeah, no, the B-layers have got their work cut out actually, because the climbers swing down and the floor is so slippery here. It'd be pretty easy to do yourself a mischief. Let's just have another look when she goes out to the right.
You can see the fatigue in the left. To pull hard enough and maintain position on both sides.
Into the climbing the semi-final. Remember,
yeah, a bit of nasty fall from the dyno.
This is
Ilan Jonas McRae, yep. And he managed to, he already had a slight niggle in his hand. I don't know if the two were related, but he took the fall, he landed hand first into the wall, and was complaining of quite a lot of pain, and it hurt when he iced it, and I had the suspicion that it was broken, and when we spoke to the medics, it took us off to the hospital, and they got us in really, really quickly, and it was all done really, really well. But yeah, as soon as I saw the x-ray, even I could see that it was quite broken. So he's got it all up in a cast now, which is quite unfortunate, but sometimes these sorts of accidents happen. It's all just part of the game. When you commit to a hard move like that, you give it everything and you're not necessarily considering the fall, and that's just how it is at the sort of the top end of the sport, I think.
Julia Chanaudy out on the wall. Yeah, it's a shame for Ilan. He's got a climbing trip booked next week in China that he's going to have to cancel, unfortunately, and head back to Canada. So we wish him all the best. Unfortunately, he's almost certain, unless he comes up with some miracle recovery, he won't make it to Cran. Almost certainly. Be amazed, but that's almost certainly the end of his season. And as I say, unfortunately, misses a climbing trip, outdoor climbing. But I suppose better it happens now than in July. But
That's true.
It's never a good time to be injured. And yeah,
No, it's
all the
never,
best to Elan. I hope he recovers.
It's never fun, but as long as he can take it in his stride and do his best to move through it.
Hopefully we'll see him back in action in full strength next July. So get well soon, Elan. Tough luck. It's as I say, never a good time to be injured, and it was a bit of a nasty fall.
I can see Julia Chenedy potentially doing really well on this route, so excited to watch her go through. Like I said before, the wall's not that steep comparative to other World Cups, so it's always really interesting to see that change of style affecting the placings, because you can kind of recover between each of the movements, which you can't quite do on a wall like the one in Chamonix or in Briançon. You kind of have to keep pushing and keep going, and it adds a bit more of an endurance factor and a really technical factor, which saw Ashima Shirayashi doing quite well, being able to bring her feet up quite high and really like managing her body positions and that sort of thing. So yeah, definitely caters for a different kind of athlete, the profile of the wall.
Julia Chenedy, she's had a real breakthrough season this year, culminating so far with a third place last time out in Wujiang. Been coming, to be honest, a podium for Julia. She's looked superb this season.
For sure, she was ridiculously close to taking the win at the World Games as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't on the IFSC stream, so a lot of people don't necessarily see.
Just about holds it. Nice.
Bit unsure as to how she's going to take this next move, though.
Just needs to refine that composure. Your heart's in your mouth and your feet slip like that. Really hard to get your heart rate back under control. She stuck it, but as I say, you then got to manage to calm down. And she pops off going up with the left hand. That's a shame for Julia. I was just saying, breakthrough season, extraordinary consistency. 10th, first time out in VLAN, then 6-4, 4th, 5th, 3rd. It's not her day today. Disappointed. But yeah, podium last week in Wujiang, the culmination so far of what's been a great season for her. Let's have another look. Her feet slipped while she was setting up, and then she jigged it around a bit, jimmied around, trying to find a bit of a better position. And went with the left hand and dropped it there. So we are down to our final 3 climbers. If one of them can't surpass Ashima Shirayashi's high point, Ashima will have her first podium in the Senior World Cup. She's been close, 4th, 5th, 6th, her finishes. Could have her first podium. Anna Verhoeven out onto the mats like all the climbers. She's had a pretty frustrating couple of days here. Warmed up twice for a semi-final, it never happened. Now back in the game, in the final. As ever, hashtag IFSCWC, let us know what you think. I've been told there was a problem with the live streaming. Apologies. If you go to the IFSC social media platforms and the IFSC homepage, you can get the new stream and you can watch Anna Verhoeven here in China. Had a horrible incident last week where I think she thought she was tangled in the rope, but she wasn't, or very slightly tangled in the rope, and she just went to correct it, slipped off. Really unfortunate for her. Ended up in 8th place. She's had a couple of hard lucks this season, but 3 podiums in the first 3 events of the year, but since then it's been 6th, 6th, 8th, as I say, 8th last time out in Wujiang after a bit of a funny incident where she got tangled in the rope, but absolutely capable of winning. Won 2 World Cups last year.
European Championship this year as well.
Yeah, she's won just about everything that isn't a World Cup
Games.
this year. Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah.
You name it, if it wasn't a World Cup, she's won it this year. Just hasn't quite enjoyed that luck in the World Cups, but 2 World Cups, including this one to go. She could match her tally of 2 wins from last year. Interesting to see, as I mentioned, time could be a real factor here. Interesting to see how she measures her pace. 4:30 on the clock. She's at that big black volume where we saw Risa Rose to take a very long rest, chooses to carry on straight through. Yeah, with with the whole field being tied, time being an even bigger factor than it is normally at a World Cup, and without a semi-final to come back to, will Anak forgo her normal steady measured style, or will she just focus on getting the top? From what we've seen so far, I think she's just going for it.
Yeah, not shaking out too much. Although, like I said, it's quite a hard route. But yeah, I think she knows that unless the route is really, really, really hard, she's going to have to climb it fast, and she's going to have to top to take the win.
Untroubled by that move up to the right hand. We've seen some climbers look absolutely desperate. Julia Chanaudy fell off that move, and Anak just cruises through it. Went up with the left hand, dropped down, went up with the right hand, in complete control at this stage. Her run of making IFSC World Cup finals in the lead is absolutely extraordinary, and continues here in Xiamen. Can she make it a gold medal? It would be the first of the season.
Definitely slowing down a little bit through that section there, but with plenty of time to go. The advantage of coming out later in the run, though, is if Anak does top the route, Janja will probably hear the crowd and will probably know about it. And when you know that there's been a top and that you have to climb it fast to win, it's often a lot easier to make this decision to do so. I guess that's one of the advantages of being ranked number 1, though.
Well, of course, yeah, it's earned. That's the thing about climbing last in the final. But, and Anak just loses her feet there. Gets them back on, though. Refines her composure. Now she's got those hard moves. So you go out to the right. You can see the little bolt-on hold on the first black volume. You've got to latch that with the right hand and then instantly lock and stop yourself from swinging out to the right. Just like that. Actually didn't look an especially hard move the way she did it. And neither does that one there. No, this is a superb effort from Anak Verhoeven.
Still got a heap of finger power left.
That's second place. She's into second. Ashima Shirashi grabbed the top of this next volume but couldn't quite stay there.
Really, really big reach to this next hold.
Anak Verhoeven goes out to the left. She sticks it. Gets a heel hook on. That's the second to last hole she's going up for now. You can see the top hole at the top of the shot. The crowd getting behind it. Yeah, the MC getting the crowd to cheer. She won't be hearing them, though. Lost in concentration. Anak Verhoeven tops the route. She's done all she can do. She can only watch now as Jane Kim and Janja Garnbret come. Anak Verhoeven, first person to top the route. Superb climb, looked in control throughout. 1 minute 30 to spare. She stops to watch so that she knows how much time she has left.
Interesting. I mean, maybe this is just how I read it from the ground, but she looked really happy when she topped it, and she didn't really rush to clip the last straw, so maybe she suspects that a top will be enough. I'm not sure.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. It's a tough one for Anak because so often she's climbed second to last in the final, tops the route, and then it's mixed emotions because you think, well, I've done all I can do, and all you can do is sit and watch Janja Garnbret. 9 times out of 10, Janja Garnbret also tops the route, so it's a bit of a mixed emotions, I would imagine, for Anak, and being pleased that she did it, but then also just thinking, oh, surely not again. But as I say, not much you can do other than sit and wait and watch.
Definitely a really quality climb, though.
Yeah, brilliant. Looked in control. Feet, lost her feet on the yellow volumes a couple of moves before this, but once she got them back on, looked in complete control. That hard shoulder move out to the right, she cruised. Going up with the left, she cruised. Never really looked too troubled at any stage. Couple of handsome devils there, or the backs of their heads. Our best sides.
I guess when you've had a few bad climbs throughout the season, or bad finals, it's always nice to come out and top the route and know you've done the best that you can. So, yeah, it could also be that as well.
So, Ashima Shirashi's first IFSC podium still hanging the balance. 2 climbers still to come. Could take it away from her. That does mean that Anak Verhoeven becomes the first climber with a top of the route and a clean sweep, top both the qualifying routes. Didn't attempt the semi-final route, which I have to say looked absolutely desperate. And tops the final route. So now she watches Jane Kim, winner in Arco, pulling onto the wall. Another climber you'll have been watching for years, same as me. And a climber who still looks absolutely at the top of her game.
I think she's in the best form of her life. Maybe she's not winning every World Cup like she was before, but with the standard of climbing, I think she's potentially climbing as well as she ever has. Especially with her win in Arco, the sort of moves she had to pull off in order to take that win, and not that of what she might have been doing a couple of years ago when she was taking every title, you know? Like, she's not only is she super graceful and she has a lot of endurance, but she's super powerful and super decisive now as well.
Yeah, she's really worked on getting those dynamic moves nailed, and while she still doesn't look like she'd like to be doing them, I think she still prefers to be doing static moves. The improvement in that side of her climbing's been immense without sacrificing any of that smooth style and raw power. As I say, already won a World Cup. She's had almost a 2-year break from World Cup wins, believe it or not, up until Arco of 2017. Back on the top step there, just over 6 weeks ago.
And it was really, really humbling, I think, to see when she took that win. Like, no matter how many times you might win a World Cup, how much it meant to her was really, really cool.
Yeah, win 26 seemed to mean as much as the other 25. It was really nice to see. So Jane on that big black volume. Risa Ota took a long rest there. Will Jane choose to do the same? I suspect she might. Just has a quick shake of the left hand and then gets on with it. That familiar style, once her heel hooks on, she never looks like she's going anywhere but up. So time could be crucial here. I suspect she's well aware of what happened with Annette Verhoeven.
She's a climber who quite often says that she doesn't think about the time, even if she knows it's the difference between winning and losing, because she knows that speeding up could just as easily spit her off the wall. And so you could top the route and have a go at time, or you could slip at the bottom and end up in 13th. So I think she's doing her best to just keep her composure and do as well as she can on the route.
That was a classic example of the type of move that she probably wouldn't choose, but has really got so much better at. And now looks...
I remember a day when a move like that was really something special on a route. I remember in Briançon a few years ago, almost that exact move, and it was just like, wow, what a move. But now that's just what they have to do every round.
And now it looks like she's pretty in control on those moves. She looked very solid there. Still looked a long way. She is one of the shorter climbers, of course, Jane, but yeah, looked in control at that stage. I'm pleased to say the rain is holding off in Xiamen. It is drying out by the second. There'll be a decision made, I'm told now, at 8:30 about the men's final. It's 5-8 now, so 35 minutes from now they'll make a decision about the men's final. I have to say, I feel quietly optimistic. The seeping from the wall has ceased, and I don't think the holds will take much drier. There's a pretty stiff breeze blowing.
I think the holds are looking relatively dry. I think they just need some chalk now, and hopefully that won't take too long, and fingers crossed we'll have a men's final.
Certainly hope so. In the meantime, we've got Jane Kim on the wall.
2 minutes to go.
Yeah, 2 minutes to go. I was about to say the same thing.
Just took a quick look at her watch.
Well, if it's for a podium position, that's too long. Because Annette Verhoeven topped in... I wasn't looking at the clock, I was looking at Annette Verhoeven, but it was around the 1:30 mark.
Yeah. So she won't take the win. It's pretty much guaranteed now, but nevertheless, still going for the top, looking really fresh on the wall.
Yeah, and I think she's timed it to perfection in terms of getting to the top of the route, but perhaps not in terms of winning the competition. It's really awkward when it comes down to time. It's not how you want things to be decided, but there's not much anyone can do when you're in South China and you get a rainstorm.
I'd really love to get to a point of fitness where, like, forcing myself to take 6 minutes would actually increase my chance of topping the route. I think if I take more than 4, it's like, no, sorry, Campbell, just jump off. You're too pumped.
Let's have a look at Jane Kim heading out right. Yeah, nearly made it work, and we lose her on that move out to right. The hard shoulder move. It's a long way for Jane versus someone like Anak. She's down, so no win for her. Unfortunately, it won't be enough for a podium either.
Yeah, really, really tough. She needed to come just a little bit higher into the movement, I think.
Amazingly enough, it's only the second time this season she's missed the podium. Let's have another look. Yeah, she was trying to line it up, trying to get something out of that right foot. Yeah, I think you're right. When you got your arms straight like that, nothing to cushion it. So disappointment for Jane Kim. That does mean that Ashima Shirashi will get her first ever World Cup podium. She's currently sitting in second place. Yeah, as you said, it says a lot about her endurance when taking 6 minutes increases her chances. You're absolutely right. Jan Hoyer said last week in the commentary that if he'd looked up and seen those tiny crimps, the last thing he'd be doing is resting. He'd be just racing to get there as fast as he could before he burned out.
Yeah, I can definitely understand not moving too quickly. Like some of the boulders, the speed with which they climb is just really impressive, and I have no idea how they don't just get flamed or make mistakes sometimes. Like for me, it's really that middle pace that's perfect, and then conversely, like wanting 8 minutes to climb 50 moves of climbing without some kind of like no hands rest is just something else, especially moves of this sort of difficulty.
Yeah, I think Tomoe Narasaki almost topped the route in Wujiang in about 3 minutes. So, this is a familiar position now, isn't it? Janja Garmret, last out in a final, high pressure. All to do, needs to not only top the route, but do so quickly if she wants to win add to her extraordinary season. Just to bring you a few statistics, I was sent some really good stats about how good this season has been for Janja Garmret. She's already got the highest combined point score. Remember, of course, that you get. There's also the combined ranking as well as the overall lead World Cups, Boulder World Cups and Speed World Cups. There's also the overall across all 3 disciplines. Janja broke the record for points in the overall in Arco. So since then we've had Edinburgh and Wujiang, both of which she won, and she's just pushing the record out further and further. She's now on 1,035 points. She's won 8 World Cups so far, 5 of the 6 lead World Cups, and 3 of the bouldering. It's an absolutely extraordinary season. The highest combined score ever, and there's still 2 World Cups to decide it. She broke the record with 4 World Cups remaining.
Super impressive. I remember when she stepped onto the scene, and I think first World Cup she came into, she was second, and she just doesn't look like she plans on slowing down at all.
She seems as motivated as ever. I had a good chat with her actually when the women's semi-final was cancelled, and she looked really down in the dumps. She's normally pretty light-hearted, and she actually looked really fed up with the whole situation. It's not a mood I've seen her in many times at a World Cup, so if it affects her climbing, we shall see. Generally just seems impervious to anything affecting her climbing, but yeah, she seemed pretty fed up really with having to warm up twice for a semi-final that never happened. Can she switch her mind off? We've heard in interviews with her where she said that when she comes out to climb, her mind is empty. Can she still achieve that when she's had 24 hours of thinking she might climb and not climbing and being messed about? We shall see. No problems as yet, as you might expect.
I think that's the thing that's consistent with pretty much all of us here at the World Cups, is that we love climbing, and that's why we're here. And when you're consistently told, no, sorry, no climbing for you, then that can be really hard to get around, especially when you come all the way to China. But here she is, she's on the wall now, so maybe she'll be a little bit happier.
Yeah, she was okay. She just seemed like she was a bit hacked off. So as I say, it means 24 hours ago, more 27 hours ago, she was supposed to be in the semi-finals, and she's been kind of in that cycle of when to warm up, when to rest ever since. But
it's exhausting. It's an exhausting process getting ready and being in a competition. The competition isn't just it's not just on the wall, it's in the warm-up area, it's between rounds, it's just getting ready for the competition, takes so much mental and emotional energy, and to extend the toughest periods can be, just full on.
She's looking in control up until this stage, Janja Gamera. I was really enjoying getting geeky with the statistics, so I'll give you a couple more. Before Xiamen, she'd entered 25 senior IFSC World Cups or World Championships. She'd won 13 of them, and she'd only failed to be on the podium 4 times out of 25.
Whoa.
She is a phenomenon. The hard shoulder move out to the right, no problem. Anna Verhoeven will be watching this with her heart in her mouth, because Janja Gamera currently has about a 50-second advantage on her. If it comes to that, she goes out right and drops it. Janja Gamera drops that move out to the right. Anna Verhoeven will win here. Campbell Harrison's jaw, you might have heard a sound of a thunk. That was his jaw hitting the floor. Janja Gamera will not win here in Xiamen. She once again looks pretty fed up with the whole thing. It was that move out to the right. I was just saying that if she could top the route, which she looked more than capable of doing, she had some time in hand. This is not the live clock. This is, the live clock, by the way. This isn't the replay clock. She had about 2 minutes 20 left. So let's have a look. She launched out with the right hand, and that's the sort of move she normally eats for breakfast.
I'm just like super psyched for Anak, really. I was looking around in the crowd to see if I could see her or her mum. No, that's really cool. But yeah, unfortunate for Janja. I think she still had some more to give, but it was a hard move. And the moves here, they're hard for everybody.
Well, Janja Gamera does not win here in Xiamen, makes her way past us. Extraordinary. Let's have a look. She goes out to the right. Yeah, it looked like she pretty much had the hold. Maybe not the perfect sweet spot, but enough of it.
It's like, I think she didn't bring her hips up high enough through the movement, maybe. She kind of was like she was dragging behind. I don't know. Maybe she was tired as well.
Yeah, as I say, she'd been warming up or cooling down or whatever over 24 hours. Could be right, yeah, absolutely. 2 hard qualifying routes yesterday, albeit she topped both of them. They weren't that hard for her, but all takes it out of you. But yes, Anna Verhoeven, well-deserved win here. She looked in complete control on the route. Pretty much cruised it, you would have to say. And that's exactly what a route setter likes to see. It's top from one climber, everyone else further down the order. Yeah, Anna Verhoeven top. Shima Shirashi does make her first World Cup podium. Janja Gamera, 3rd place.
So now I guess we've just got to wait and see if this men's final will go ahead. Some route setters are kind of gathering around us, getting ready to potentially clean the route.
Pleased to say that Anna Verhoeven is apparently on her way to talk to us, to talk us through her route. Topped it in about 4.5 minutes, looked relatively in control. Yeah, Anna Verhoeven, we're told, on her way over to us to talk us through what has been her first victory of the 2017 Lead World Cup season. She's had a great season up until now. And here she is. Anna, I will just get you a microphone. There you go. Firstly, congratulations.
Whoa. Wow, I'm so glad after all the disappointments I've experienced over the past couple of competitions.
Yeah, it's been a really hard season for you.
Yes.
But finally you get the win. You must be absolutely delighted. And I believe that we can watch your climb if you would be happy to talk us through it.
Okay, I will.
Let's try and get the replay of Anak on the route. So here we go. So how are you feeling coming out? It's been a hard 24 hours for you. You've been warming up, cooling down. You don't know when you're going to climb. How hard was it psychologically?
We were all pretty tired, and I know for the first move, which you can see here, there were several girls who were a bit afraid of it. But of course, we all know that it cannot be very hard because they don't want us to fall before the first quick draw. So in the end, it was okay, but the whole route felt a little bit humid and slippery. I slipped a few times, and it's hard to be confident when you feel the conditions are hard to climb in. But yeah, I just decided actually to be confident and to fight my way through the route. I decided this before starting because my feelings weren't really that way, but I decided with my will.
And this lower section, is it just a case of trying to stay calm, find a rhythm?
Yes, but of course you don't know it. When you start climbing, anything can happen. We've had this several times that even the beginning of route is difficult, and this wasn't the case in this route, but as I said, it was pretty humid, so you have to be careful, but not try to control everything too much.
Now, one thing I'm really interested in, because you were all tied from the qualifiers, time could be crucial. Were you trying to climb faster than normal, or did you think the most important thing was just to do as well as you can and then worry about the time?
I didn't think about the time at all.
Okay.
That's maybe a bit strange. I only thought about it after I had come down, and I thought about the other girls who still had to come out, and I thought, oh, I really hope time won't be the factor which separates us, because that's always such a pity.
Yeah, it's something that Camille and I were talking about. Will you actually think about that? It's really interesting to hear it wasn't something you considered.
No,
you seemed like you chose not to rest here, though. There was a reasonable rest on the right, but you just didn't need it.
No, and I think I just wanted to climb on, and not get stuck somewhere. I wasn't tired yet, so I didn't really have to rest, and then it's better to just go on, and that's what I tried to do, just do move after move and not stop too much.
And then this move up to the black volume, we saw a few climbers really struggling with that move. You were looking in complete control here, though.
Yeah, I had no idea what the others had done, but...
Well, this move here as well, up to the small yellow hole, we saw a few climbers fall there.
Okay, really.
And once again, you went with the left, went with the right, you're cruising.
Well, the hold looked good, but it was a bit of a dynamic move. I saw Janja did a heel hook. I thought about that as well, but then I just decided to to change my feet lower down on the yellow volume and just make a little dynamic move because the hold was good, so it was possible to do that. And then here, it just becomes like a crimpy section on all the banana volumes. And you had to know where the holds were, so I really tried to remember well. I did my best during the observation to remember which bananas had which holds on them.
And were you pretty much spot on? You remembered it correctly?
Yes. I was glad I did. But here I took a few risks, like clipping this quick draw. I knew I was taking a risk because of my right foot, but I just had to. And that's it. The difficult thing was the humidity, because like you could slip off on a place where you usually wouldn't, just because the hole was wet.
You lost your feet. Yeah. It was just
yes.
there, yeah.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, you cannot control that. Your hands you can still feel, even then you can slip off. But the feet, you don't know how the friction is. And it might well be that the route setters had intended us to put our foot on a volume, and that because the conditions are so different now that it isn't possible anymore, or it's really slippery. So.
And these two moves here, we were saying on the live stream, it's a hard move out to the right. Again, no problem. You looked at control and move up with the left hand. We lost Molly and Keo on that move. And then this was where you took the lead.
Okay, I heard it. I heard the public, but I couldn't really know where it was exactly.
And this second to last hold is terrible. Is it not too bad when you get there?
No, it's not too bad. It's just a crimp and two little crimps, maybe so that we cannot change hands on it. And this hold was a bit wet, but the top part was okay. But there were some raindrops on it.
And what's the feeling when you clip the top like that? I mean, are you thinking, oh, well, now I have to watch Janja and Jane, or is it just pure happiness? What is it, a bit of both?
Yes, it's a bit of both. I was just happy that I had done all I could have done. I have done my job, and yeah, then I just had to watch the others and see what they were going to do.
It must have been a nerve-wracking few minutes, but huge congratulations. You won the World Cup you've won just about everything that wasn't a World Cup this year, but not a World Cup. You finally win one, and yeah, huge congratulations. Really impressive climb. You were the best climber in the final. You deserve to win. Great performance.
Thank you.
And yeah, enjoy the podium ceremony. You've earned it. And we'll see you in Cran.
Of course, yes.
Where you won last year.
Yeah.
Who knows? Could be 2 out of 2 at the end of the season. Certainly hope so
nice.
for you. And yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
As far as the men's finals go, we believe there's going to be a decision taken at about 8:30. You can see Vincent Cousse, our IFSC technical delegate, behind me, and the route setters are just checking the wall. So stay with us. It's currently 8:10, so in roughly 20 minutes' time we hope to have a decision. Fantastic women's final, and hopefully we'll bring you a men's final. As I say, put the kettle on, grab a beer, keep the volume on, and I'll give you a shout if we're back with the men's final.
好的，那么现在看到我们的比赛呢，还在进行最后的线路的整理，我们继续为各位来梳理一下，接下来进入到我们的男子难度决赛8位的选手的这个我们的资料啊，我们对于这个等一下的比拼有一个非常详细的了解。我们来看一下从年龄来划分啊，刚刚是我们讲过3位日本、2位中国、1位这个俄罗斯、1位意大利、1位韩国和1位乌克兰。
对，那么年纪最长的选手是1992年出生的运动员。
90后是最年轻的、最年纪大的选手吗？看一下最年轻的选手。
最年轻的选手在呢，中国队的2000年出生的韩宇飞。
哦，中国队的选手啊，2位选手中的1位韩宇飞是这一次进入到决赛男子8强的这个最年轻的选手，2000年出生，00后。
在区域，那么是年纪稍微有92年的，
应该像比赛今天会更过一点。
打个打
啊，是的，徐仔是我们这一次年轻最长的这位选手吗？
是的，是的啊。那么待会儿出场，第1位出场的来自日本的陈景范，一个年纪的。
有意思啊，我们中国进入的2位选手，1位是8位里面最年轻的，1位是8位里面比赛经验最丰富的。好，我们来看一下他们的世界的排名的情况。
那么最好的排名是待会儿倒数第3位出场的意大利选手，那么他的积分排名是今年的第2位，
世界排名第2。
是的。那么可以看到男子的决赛确实是意外非常多啊，有一个半决赛中如果没有表现好，稍有意外就进不来。所以我们看到前10的选手在今天并没有得到一个非常好的发挥。
所以看到了，虽然说这些选手都悉数来到我们的这一次的比赛现场，但是我们看到一直世界排名前10的选手，只有预赛排名这个世界排名第2的意大利选手的斯里马洛，以及世界排名第5的日本选手梅基洛。
是的，是的。在这次比赛，世界前10的选手那么因为有并列第10，所以一共是11个运动员，有9位来到了赛场，但是前10只有2位进入到了决赛，所以在今天这一轮，我们看到年轻的运动员在赛场上展现出了完全不一样的魅力。
是的，可以这样讲。好，那么同时呢，我们看一下这边世界排名还有前10位的，这个还有前20的有1位，好吧？
是的
然后还有1、2、2位选手是世界排名30名开始几乎世界排名应该也是跟他参加比赛的次数相关。
有的运动员他今年可能就参加1场比赛。
剃完之后，刚想问你说你是读什么专业？你看我这个牌子。我大学的时候就没有想过来当这个样子。
好，
休息，男生都在这边玩手机，女生都在那边翻书。大二，他们大部分都是大二，应该直接就现在刚开学1个月。女生都很强，男生我还没有看到几分。
There we see, we're back in action here in Xiamen. 5 minutes ago I told you it would be 8:30. Forget that. Things move quickly. We're underway. Kokoro Fuji first out, Kachira Koronaga, Yufei Pan, Fede Samoilov, Haibin Krug, Stefano Gasolfi, Tomoe Narasaki and Jong Won Chon, your 8 starters. The men's final can take place, so it's just... I was told it'd be 8:30 before anything happened, so we went off to do a quick interview with Anat Verhoeven for our highlights package, and someone grabbed me and said we're underway.
I'm not going to lie, my heart's racing a little bit. I got grabbed and told, hey, can you start the live stream for us? And maybe with a little bit of warning, that would have been fine.
You'd have cruised You'd have cruised it.
It took me by surprise a little bit standing in front of the camera without Charlie.
Man of your calibre, it'd be no problem. Kokoro Fuji underway.
I just want to say how great a view we've got of the men's route. We can see pretty much the whole thing from almost directly underneath. Like we're sort of in the distance we could touch the final route, which is really, really cool from the commentary booth.
One note actually before we start, the men's overall title can't be decided here today. It could have been if Roman de Gronscher in the final, but because he's not, it can't be. It will definitely go to Kran. As far as the women go, Janja Garnbret has won it after her performance here today. We were busy focusing on Anat Verhoeven, but quietly, Janja Garnbret won the overall title. It was never really in doubt, was it? 5 wins out of 6 coming here to China. It's a bit of a formality, but it's signed and sealed. Janja Garnbret, the overall champion for 2017. Anat Verhoeven, the World Cup winner here in Xiamen, and the men's overall competition can't be decided here. Roman de Gronscher did not make the final. It's down to him and Stefano Gasolfi, and it will go to Kran.
Really, really different style of route here with the men's. Funny enough, there were definitely no jugs on the women's route, and I don't think you could say the same thing for the men's route. There are a few of these holds that are really, really positive. And whether or not the guys will be able to get a rest on them, I'm not so sure. But it definitely makes for a different style of climbing. And much steeper as well. They've definitely got the more overhanging section of the wall as well, which unfortunately has been the section of wall which struggles a little bit in the wet temperatures. But skies are looking relatively clear from what I can see. So hopefully we should be able to get through the whole final without a hiccup.
Kokoro Fuji, multiple Boulder World Cup winner. Not seen him actually in any lead finals this year until today. 10th, 11th, 12th. So far in the 3s entered. Now heads out towards the huge purple volumes. You can see the wind here in Xiamen really picking up. And he drops it just between the 2 huge purple volumes. It's such a steep section of wall. The route setters are pretty much sought out steepness all the way on this men's route, and you can see Kokoro breathing heavily, shaking out as he comes back down.
Much, much quicker than we saw almost any of the women climb as well.
Let's have a look at Kokoro. He goes up with the left hand. It's just a bridge too far.
Please pay attention. After the competition, please go to the restaurant and get the prize. Don't go back to the hotel. Thank you.
接下来我们又看到一位来自日本的
So out next, Japan once again. Well represented. How often do we say that?
Japanese route setter. And Japanese athletes must be loving it, I think. Probably a similar style to what they see in a lot of their national comps and that sort of thing. And I definitely have found the routes to be a very, typically Japanese style, which I've really enjoyed, actually. I think the qualifiers here were some of my favorite of the season. And so, for sure, it's definitely a really jumpy and committing style that I think they love to climb as well. So, not surprising to see a few of them here in the final.
Shiro Toranaga away. It's looking up. I have to say, we're right underneath the wall. We're in that little enclave, down and right of Kichiro. We're looking directly up at the route. It is unrelentingly steep, this men's route. As I say, the route setters, where the angle of the wall eases, they actually bring the route out to the right to stay on the steep terrain. It's a brutal route. They did a great job with the women's in extremely difficult conditions. Anna Verhoeven, for me, and the results will prove it, the best climber in the final, the only one to top it.
There's really not very much on that hold he just grabbed. He just took a nice little rest. But we can see it just from where we are, and it's really tiny. Good feet though. And a hard move to that the jug on the volume there.
Still to come, Tomoe Narasaki. Interestingly enough, actually, Tomoe Narasaki and John Won-chon, the last two climbers out, they were first and second in the semi-final after extraordinary performances last week in the finals in Wujang. They'll be out 7th and 8th after superb semi-final performance. Shiro, I don't think the rope's quite caught in his leg there, but it still looks a bit of an awkward one.
It's really interesting because I was curious myself, and so I took a look, and at least for Tomoe, it's not his first season on the IFSC World Cups, Lead World Cups, sorry. He's actually done quite a few before, and his results so far comparative to when he was last on the Lead World Cup circuit they're pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it was
the jump he made.
2013 he was last in he'd never made a final before Wujang, but yeah, he competed in the Lead World Cups back in 2013. As you say, he made a massive lead. I mean, he's... Oh, it's hard to say. We'll keep an eye on Kichiro. Yeah, so about to say, it's hard to say he's a favourite for the Olympics this far out at Tomoe, but Bouldering lead, he's not beginning to train speed and not looking too shabby there either.
The rumour is he got 9 seconds on his flash run of the speed route, on his first attempt.
I got about 3.5 minutes. So, Kichiro out to the right. Through those worm-shaped volumes, he's going to have to fight here. Got his work cut out. It's not easy when the feet cut off like that, and again he peels loose.
Looking really solid though. Managed to pull that together really quickly.
So this is where we lost Kokoro. It was that move there. So that's an early lead for Kichiro. Still, he doesn't look super troubled. His feet cut loose a couple of times. And you can just see, only because we're right underneath him, just beginning to shake ever so slightly with the elbow there. Rope just caught around the volume. I thought that might cause him a problem because he hadn't realised. So this is all new ground on the men's route.
Looking really fresh.
He is looking really fresh. Let's say we're right underneath him. You can see his arms quivering slightly, and
wow.
We lose him. And he holds his hands out as if to say, what happened there? We'll be able to see a replay, hopefully. There's myself and Campbell, looking particularly chill. Netflix and chill. It's Kichiro, sorry. I do apologise. It's been a long day. Kichiro, see it, a bit of a unusual angle, but had the left hand solid enough. So again, a bit of an unusual angle. This one moves a bit lower down. That was where he lost his foot and somehow stuck it and seemed to recover incredibly quickly. Just look at him now, he doesn't look super tired.
No, I don't think he was super tired when he fell. He looked quite, yeah, there we go.
It's the heel that popped.
Yeah, he was like kind of towing the side of his foot into that hold, and I think it was just one of those moments where he got a bit of tunnel vision. He was just considering how to make that next move, and he just had to be at the next hold straight away, and he had a bit of a lapse in judgment with the foot placement, and it wasn't to be.
Yeah, it looked as if he couldn't quite decide whether he wanted a heel hook or a toe hook, caught halfway, and it popped as he went. But it's a good early high point from him. You can see in the background there, Yufei Pan. He's on all the marketing here in Xiamen, and he'll be climbing next. We'll see the real thing, not the poster, very shortly. Yeah, Yufei Pan, a real prospect in world climbing, one of China's leading lights right now. All-rounder, does all three disciplines to a good standard.
And really young too, still in Youth A.
Yes.
So 17 years old.
Yep. First final.
Really impressive.
Yeah.
Well, because Wu Zheng was his first semi-final of the season, and he hadn't been, I think, and I don't think he'd been in the semi-finals since China last year, from memory.
Nope. Here he is, World Cup final.
Yeah. Oh, and man, his semi-final climb was really something phenomenal.
Yeah.
He just came out. After watching him climb and sort of where he'd been placing in the last few World Cups, I thought that maybe the route was way too easy. It was going to get like 10 tops. But no, he just climbed super well. And so it'll be really cool to see how he fares on a finals route.
I was about to say he's under no pressure because it's a bonus to be here, but it probably doesn't feel like that with the home crowd cheering you on.
No, I think being on all the posters, especially so young, would certainly wear down on you a little bit. Like, you could definitely feel a little bit of home pressure, especially with there being other Chinese athletes doing quite well in the competition. I know for me that would potentially wear on me a bit, but he's proving himself deserving at the very least.
Yeah, he seems to like it here in Xiamen. His previous semi-final appearance was here in this very venue a year ago. Yeah, multi-discipline athlete, very successful in the youth competitions, genuine all-rounder, and a climber that a lot of people in the know are very excited about. Certainly a lot to deal with though when suddenly as a 17-year-old is signing autographs and all the rest of it, as he has been this weekend. Killed it pretty well, had a pretty good rest, albeit quite low down on the route. You can see his number fluttering in the wind, it really picking up. It's increasingly good conditions here. The wind's blowing, it's a relatively dry wind, it's relatively cool by Xiamen standards as well. When we first arrived, our first full day here was Tuesday, it was blisteringly hot. Horribly hot. These are some of the best climbing conditions we've encountered this week.
It kind of feels like climbing on at a crag when you're up there. It feels super exposed with all the wind. It's kind of cool. Not ideal, but it's exciting.
Yeah, you got the wind in your hair. Yeah, what do you mean? You've got an outdoor feel to it. Now he's got to launch it with the left hand. Sticks that crimp.
I remember feeling really happy I didn't do my hair the morning of qualifications. I've been really upset.
A problem I'd love to have. Okay, that move up something looks a long way for Yufei Pan. Makes it work. Back in control now. We're a bit further on. We saw Chiro Koranaga lose his feet. It's still very steep, this section. It's a nice wall here in Xiamen, lots of features, I mean big features, shapes of the wall for the route setters to play with. And the men have decided to go steep, steep, steep. Commits to the move outright. Chinese crowd enjoyed that. This is where we saw Kachiro have a couple of issues, lost his feet. That is real hip flexibility though, and that's the reward. Puts him in a much more comfortable position. He's able to clip, now cross through.
Fighting really hard.
Yeah, now he's beginning to fight. I think the crowd are just about keeping him on the wall. Again, like Kokora Fuji.
Whoa.
Struggles with that move to the left hand, but makes it work and just about hangs on. The crowd, I think, keeping him on the wall. He's absolutely burnt here, but still going hard. Rope's just caught there. He needs to free that, or it could give him a bit of friction, a bit of drag. And we lose him heading out to the right, but that's a superb effort from Yufei Pan. That'll put him in second place as it stands. Just 8 men in the final. Had an unusually large women's final. But the usual 8 men in the final. Let's have another look at the end of it. You can see him there. There's the man and there's the poster.
Be a huge relief, I'm sure. It must be pretty intimidating going from fighting to get into semi-finals to all of a sudden being in your first final. And you know, you wanna feel like it wasn't a fluke. You wanna feel like you really deserve it. And I think the climb he put in just then showed us that he's definitely of finalist caliber, especially that move.
Well, I think when you finish higher than Kokora Fuji, you can be pretty happy with your day's work.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully finding out what it feels like to be in a final is a feeling you will have very soon.
Hopefully. It's always the goal. Keep working towards it.
Keep the goal the goal.
Many seasons to come. Cool to see Fadira as well back in the finals. I think Vila was the last one you saw him in.
Yep.
Where he made podium.
Yeah, he was second there. And then he just had third in Vila. It just seems like he didn't ever quite find that form again. We've not actually seen him in a final again until tonight. 24th, 25th, 26th. He's had three pretty shocking semi-final performances where it's just been a slip or a bit of bad luck, or he's just misread a move. Should be added, there was a 9th as well in the middle of that in Edinburgh, only just missed out on another final. But yeah, when we saw him in Vila, you thought, wow, this guy could have an amazing season. It's not quite happened for him, but he's back in the finals. It seems like it's all or nothing with him. It's either a podium or a disaster.
I think he's got a specific style. He really loves crimps. Anything that he can get into a crimp and lock off, he can just keep fighting. I'm watching him in China at the World Youth Championships, and he just had one of those routes that specifically suited him, and he destroyed us. And then sometimes it just doesn't quite work out for him, but when he's good, he's really good.
No problem so far with the swing. It's a dramatic looking move, that one, but by the standards of this route, not an especially hard one.
No, it's a super positive hold on top of the volume, so you'd be pretty unlucky to fall off of it, I think.
And as you were saying about his love of crimps, he latches one with the right hand, and to be honest, he looks like he could fall asleep on it.
He just doesn't get pumped on crimps. Oh, and he's matching the crimp as well.
Whoa. Finger saw just looking at it. Now he heads out to the left. Yeah, so we're beginning, as is always the case, we begin to learn the routes here. Once you've seen a few climbers, you can see those big purple volumes where we just saw Yufei Pan come to a battling end. And Kichiro Kuranaga push things out a bit further up than that. We haven't really seen anyone onto the very last moves of the route. Route setter's got it spot on in the women's competition. One top there from Anna Verhoeven. Fed in, now he's shaking out. This is where he's got to be careful. You need to do these with a bit to spare, these moves. If you go full tilt on them and the feet come off, it's a big problem. You need to do them in control, like that. Really nicely done. Heel hook in place. Hasn't quite got that flexibility to...
No, Fede has all the flexibility.
I was about to say, now he has it. Yeah.
Don't even say that. I've watched this man stretch at Innsbruck. It's ridiculous.
I was finding it hard to believe there was someone out there more flexible than him, and he proves me wrong. There is more flexible. He gets that left foot up high and makes the move look relatively easy. So this pop up here with the left hand is where we lost Kokora Fuji. No such worries for Fed here. This is a hard move out right though. Yufei Pan somehow stuck it by the skin of his teeth. Fed is lining it up.
So high.
And he doesn't quite stick it. Bit of an awkward fall as well, but he's the right way up. And he's down on the ground. The crowd enjoyed that. Give him a good round of applause. Still looking up, trying to figure out if he missed something there. Let's have a look. So the elbow was up on the left hand. I wonder if there's a bit of pump showing. Yeah, he never really got too close to the key bit of that volume. There's a little bolt on hold just to help you along the way.
I think that was just an instance of a climber meeting the natural end, really. I think he was just pumped.
Chiro Koranaga sitting pretty here. Second Chinese finalist in this men's final. Having Ku climbing next, and then it's Stefano Ghisolfi, won here in Xiamen last year. Currently engaged in an increasingly close battle for the overall title with Romain de Grange. Romain de Grange had a shocker in the semi-finals, finished 22nd here. If he'd won, he would have won the overall. But couldn't do it, and it means it will go to Cran. Even if Stefano Ghisolfi wins here today, it'll still go to Cran to be decided.
Adds a little bit of spice, which is kind of nice, though.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's felt like she actually only sewed it up today, but Jan Yagambra, it's felt like she's had it won for a long time. It would have taken an extraordinary set of results for her not to have won it today. She almost sealed it in Edinburgh. But yeah, the men's much more open. Romain de Grange looked like it was all his.
Yeah.
It feels like it might be slipping away. Surely not.
Although I can see him doing really well in Cron again, so we'll see how it goes. It's nice to see a little bit of fight, though.
I think there's a lot of neutrals cheering for Romain de Grange. He's had a long career. It's taken a long time to find success. And,
it'd be interesting as to what maybe he thinks is the difference between this year and so many of the others that he's had. This is what, 102nd World Cup, I think, and yeah, maybe not the best result from him for this one, but this season has just been like out of control for them all.
Well, climb in the final low. A really funny incident in the semi-finals. Just blew it on a move that I didn't expect him stopping. Haibin Q of China climbing second. Chinese athlete. They've had an excellent Xiamen World Cup, particularly on the men's side. Decent performances in the speed climbing as well. Had the speed climbing earlier. Vladislav Dolin and Anna Jobert, crowned overall champions, and won the World Cup in Xiamen to seal it as well. See the results across the top of your screen. Chiro Koranaga still leading the way. Hashtag IFSC WC if you want to get in touch on Twitter. Tell us your thoughts, predictions. Can anybody beat Chiro Koranaga's current high point, 33 plus?
Totally static on the big crossover. Almost totally static, still took a bit of a swing.
Yeah, 25-year-old Chinese climber. Entered his first World Cup, believe it or not, in 2008. Some time ago, but been there or thereabouts for a while. Semi-finals here, last time in Xiamen, 13th that time.
Lots of Asia World Cups and not so many in Europe and America and such. So he's one of those climbers who just sort of, you almost forget about him and then he pops up out of nowhere and starts crushing everybody.
Yeah, entered 3 Bouldering World Cups earlier in the season actually, with the best finish of 39th in Vale. But yeah, as they've been at it a long time, he's made a big mistake there, and that was him screaming, and our microphone's picking it up. Furious with himself. As we were saying, 10th year he's been entering World Cups, albeit not that many and not entering one every year, but that's a bad mistake. Let's have another look. It's a bit of an unusual angle, but we can still see it. So he crossed through with the right hand. Yeah, he was in control at that stage, so this is a bit higher up. It's a reasonable hold he's going for. Oh, he's going for the crimp first. Getting lost on the route. Let's have a look.
So he misses it, and then he's almost saved it, and then his right hand just dry fired on the hold, so it just popped off. So a little bit of probably a little bit disappointed, but I think this might be his first final. So even if you're happy with your climbing, sometimes you put so much emotional energy into the climb that when you come off the wall, it just has to go somewhere.
Yeah, it was his first final. So we're disappointed, but 10 years after your first World Cup, you make your first final, probably drink a beer tonight and think, hey, maybe it wasn't so bad after all. Charlie Bosco and Campbell Harrison here. It's been a long evening already. Great women's final, and then we thought we were going to have a long break before the men's final, and suddenly I got rushed from interviewing Annette Verhoeven back to the booth, and we got underway with the men's final. I have to say, at about 6 o'clock this evening, when the rain was hammering down, wind was blowing, I would have bet everything I owned we wouldn't have had a men's final.
Yep, getting into a taxi on the way here, I was like, it can't happen. It just, no matter how hard I thought we tried, I was like, no, it won't happen. It was really unfortunate, but it looks like we're going to get through both genders, which I really didn't expect.
And in pretty good conditions.
Yeah,
we haven't had any rain since the climb has started. Stefano Ghisolfi, the winner in Xiamen 2016. He could be the overall World Cup champion in 2017. Sounds ridiculous for a high-profile climber. He's almost snuck under the radar. So much attention has been on Romain Desgrange and his extraordinary season, but Stefano's just been finishing consistently throughout the season. He also won in Wujiang, it should be said, last week.
He loves his China World Cups.
Yeah, he always seems to climb well here in China. Won in Wujiang.
Every single one of his gold medals has been from China.
Yeah.
As well.
2 in Wujiang, 1 in Xiamen so far. He could be less than 6 minutes away from another one, we shall see. But he's absolutely in the running to win the overall title for 2017, just through consistency. He's not really had any shockers. Arco, his hometown, 11th, really the only one. Missed the final as well in Briançon, in Villars, 11th there. But otherwise, it's just been finals, podiums, and 1 win. And it's kept him in the hunt. You never know. It will go to Cran. We'll be there on the 12th and 13th of November, 4 weeks' time. And this man could claim the overall title. It would really help his chance of doing so if he could have a good result here, though.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely boost him up on the list, make it a little bit easier, perhaps.
Yeah, it was a great moment when he won in Xiamen last year. It's a really spectacular venue, and he kind of climbed into the light. It was an awesome moment, and it was on this right-hand side of the wall. You might remember it if you watch his live, or you've been back to watch the replay. It was on this section of wall where the men's route went not quite the same line, but on the same section of wall. That's where the lost side of the queue. One for Stefano, nice and accurate up to that crimp.
Hard moves though, he's still crimping pretty hard. You can see having to focus for sure. And yeah, the wind's definitely picking up is the only thing, so a few of those draws are a little bit harder to clip, especially the ones on longer slings.
Stefano pops out to the right. He's got that nice, got a really nice springy style.
Super springy. Oh, too springy.
Too springy. Tries to cross through to that second pink volume. And we saw Romain Desgrange blow a chance to win the overall here and take it through to Cran. Stefano Ghisolfi has also blown an opportunity to put himself in a really strong position in the overall rankings. We'll see where it leaves him in the final standings, but Romain Desgrange will be watching that, and part of him will be thinking that's a relief, because he will not be collecting a big chunk of points here.
Yeah, it definitely makes it a little bit harder for him to take that title.
So he pops out with the right, still look completely in control at this stage. Let's have a quick look.
His foot blows just a little bit too early.
Yeah, he looked at his foot just before he went, bit of a funny one.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe he was a little bit frazzled. It
It's
just,
an interesting one for Stefano.
yeah, how it goes sometimes.
So it's going to be either Japan or Korea that wins the gold medal here. Tomoe Nagasaki just walking behind us. He even skips when he's on firm ground, skips onto the mat. Jongwon Chon still to come, so it will be Japan or Korea who wins. Koichiro Kuranaga is leading the way. Can he be overtaken by one of these two climbers? Is already guaranteed a place on the podium. Oh, these are the sorts of moves he doesn't have too much trouble with.
We were talking about springy just before, and the potential of being maybe a bit too springy. We'll see. You don't see Tomoe make mistakes too often.
Yeah,
But it definitely makes me just like a little bit on edge when I see someone jumping through some of those slopers like that.
yeah, it's funny. It's like he can't resist jumping. His natural instinct is a high-risk move.
Go, 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 go.
Yeah, and it's just pop, 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 move, move, move. So we were just saying how nicely Stefano Solfi was climbing and how dynamically he was climbing. He fell from a relatively innocuous-looking move. Tomoe, the trim, still no problems for him.
Yeah, it's looking really good so far. Looking really good still, looking really confident. Oh, bit of a foot slip there. Got to be careful placing his feet properly, especially like Anak was saying earlier in the humidity.
So this is where we lost Stefano. It was up to that second pink banana. He goes out to the huge purple volumes. That's where we lost his compatriot Kokoro. Tomoe Nagasaki is having to fight here. 3 minutes 43 left on the clock. Clicking from what looks like a pretty uncomfortable position.
He's able to get his body really far over that volume though, which was nice for the clip, but he's definitely looking a bit tired.
It's a long time since we saw Koichiro Kuranaga up in this part of the world. Where can Tomoe Nagasaki get? He's still going and the rope just caught and it looked as if it just distracted his attention somewhat. Threw him off. Just threw his concentration.
Oh, he just struggled actually. It looked like he struggled to get his foot up. Like he overestimated his flexibility or just didn't like go hard enough or something of the sort, but he went to put his foot up, he didn't make it, and he just, you know, he fell with his foot.
So last man out, Jongwon Chon is just walking behind us. You're about to see him. Goes up to the wall. He's told to go back just a second. He's right behind us. Here he comes. So Jongwon Chon, the last climber out in the men's final. We've seen the women climbing earlier on today. We weren't sure we were going to see the men. It didn't look very probable, but we are doing. Can Jongwon Chon claim a gold medal in the lead? What an extraordinary achievement it would be if he did.
His semi-final was certainly really impressive. But again, really different style of climbing on this route compared to the semi-final. Much steeper profile, so it's, unless you've got that really inbuilt resistance, it's definitely a lot harder to recover.
When he finds a rest early on.
It's even those first couple of moves can sap just that little bit of energy out of you. So if you can get a rest like this where you can get everything back, that could be the difference between, you know, an extra 2 moves at the top, because he's already done, you know, like, what, 7 moves or so, where he's still having to pull, still having to squeeze and work, and it all adds up in the end. So being strategic about those little rests at the beginning of the route can be the difference.
Jongwon Chon recently, back in August, sealed the overall title in bouldering in 2017. He did the same in 2015. 16 wasn't quite his year, albeit he won a World Cup still, but 17 very much back to his best. And I was chatting to one of the coaches who said to me, for raw strength, for measurable strength, Jongwon Chon is probably 30% stronger than virtually anyone else in the bouldering circuit.
For sure, and it's not the only one I've heard that from. That I've heard, I think it was Alex Kazanov say that as far as basic climbing goes, he's the strongest, and no one can beat him.
It's quite extraordinary when you think about it, though, to say 30% stronger than World Cup bouldering World Cup winners.
James Cassay was telling me that he's like, oh yeah, he's really good at what he's good at, and really damn good at everything else.
Great line from James Cassay.
I think that really sums it up.
Hopefully we'll see James in a couple of World Cups next year.
Hopefully.
Meanwhile, it's Jongwon Chon. Yeah, if James wants to come and win a World Cup, this is one of the people he's got to beat. It's an awful lot easier said than done.
I think James at the moment is more set on maybe building his son up in a few years to take out the World Cup title.
I think if his son was half as strong as Jongwon Chon, he'd make a pretty decent climber. Jongwon Chon, you can see there, that's the move where Kokoro Fuji fell, and Jongwon just about sticks it. Because that's what we're talking about, that power. It was looked like a really awkward move, but he's just so strong on that left hand, but he drops it just going up for the next one. I was about to say, looks so strong on that left hand that it nearly saved him. And it did save him, but it's the next move that stopped him.
That throw pumped him out for sure, though.
So let's have a look. This is where, I mean, that left hand, it's a small crimp. Kokoro Fuji couldn't even hold on to it. Jongwon Chon had enough on it that he could shake out. So let's have another look where it went wrong for him. Strange one, looked like just readjusting. He didn't.
I think he was pumped.
Yeah,
I think it was like
pumped.
Lack of power, trying to get it back, and then didn't quite work out.
So there we see it, Jongwon Chon. So Kachiru Koronaga, winner here in Xiamen. So there you see it, Anat Verhoeven, the best climber here this evening in the women's competition. The only one to top the route, Ashima Shirashi, makes her first World Cup podium. I wonder how many more she will make. Jan Yagambra in third place, you suspect might wake 1 or 2 more in the future. Just out of interest, by the way, that makes it 13 wins out of 26 World Cups for Janis. This is now on a 50% win rate in IFSC World Cups and World Championships. Standards are slipping. Jessie Pilz in 4th, Meena Markovic in 5th, Akina Noguchi 6th, Molly Thompson-Smith in 7th, Jane Kim in 8th, Hannah Schubert in 9th, Risa Ota in 10th. A bit low down the order, it's France in 11 and 12, Mathilde Becerra, Julia Chanaudy, the first slip up of an otherwise excellent season, Meiko Taki down there 22 plus. And we're just waiting for the results for the men to be confirmed. Here they are, Koichiro Koranaga, 38 plus, he wins it. We didn't get to see the upper reaches of that men's route, which is a bit of a shame, but it's Japan 1 and 2. Koichiro number 1, Tomoe Narasaki second, Yufei Pan, up and coming Chinese climber on the podium,
Super
third place.
young.
Yeah, in his first World Cup final, fantastic effort from him. John Won Chon, we just saw, couldn't quite make the podium. Third is Samoa. He'll be pretty happy with fifth when he looks back. Kokoro Fuji sixth. Stefano Ghisolfi down in 7th and Haibun Q down in 8th. Quick one about Stefano Ghisolfi. I was trying to do the maths on the fly with a bit of help from social media Joe back in France. And I believe that Romain Desgrange only requires 15th to seal the overall title for 2017 this year in Cran. Don't hold me to it, but according to the maths we've done here, 15th place in Cran will seal it for Romain Desgrange. In the meantime, Campbell, it was a bit of a disrupted World Cup, but when it got underway, fantastic.
Yeah, really, really cool. I didn't think it was going to happen for a while there, but I'm super psyched that it did. Especially, we came all the way to China, and it's really great to get a ranking in the end. And a really good show, actually. Really good route setting. Yeah,
fantastic job from the route setters in incredibly difficult circumstances. Thank you very much for your patience this week, and it hasn't been easy with all the delays and changes. But thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in 4 weeks' time in Cran.